Hello, I'm Justin Smith. For a long time, we've known how important it is to speak openly and honestly about mental health, but there's something that we're still not quite good enough at speaking about, and that is suicide. Getting a little better, but we're probably still not there. Tobin Brothers Funerals are launching the Listen Now week, which kicks off tomorrow. We'd love for you to follow the hashtag and also share the videos with people that you think really need to see them. And right through the week and into next weekend, I'm going to talk to experts in the area. I'm going to talk to people who have been directly affected, families and friends who have lost people to suicide and are still suffering immeasurable pain and still not understanding why this thing had happened in their lives. And also the people who have had suicidal thoughts and managed to come out the other side. The first person I want to speak to is James MacLeod, who's the managing director, and well done to him and his team for putting this together. It's incredibly important. I think it's very brave of them to have this Listen Now week. James is the managing director of Tobin Brothers Funerals, and I really want you to listen to this because I guarantee you that after you hear the reason why they put this week together, you will have a full understanding of why we need to speak about it. James MacLeod, thank you very much. I think this is going to be an incredibly important week.
Yeah, thanks, Justin. I think it is a very important week, and I think that it's somewhat sad that we need to be having these conversations, but it's so important that we do because suicide is real. It's happening each and every day, and so many are not aware about it. And we become aware, sadly, often, and we're left asking ourselves these questions of why, whether you're a family member, a friend, or a colleague. And so by having these conversations, we really hope that it helps those out in the wider community to start to discuss it more openly because it is real.
James, this is the reason that Tobin Brothers has got behind this is an incredibly important one. These have been, particularly in the last few weeks, brutal weeks for you and your team because, you are dealing with, let's get straight to it here. You are dealing with far more suicides than you would want and expect. You are, you don't want any, but you are burying young people, young, healthy people who took their own life.
Yeah. Look, it's and that's been a driving reason why I decided to get such a week off as Listen Now week because we've seen a significant rise this year in suicide deaths. Significant, and right at the time of me talking to you, we have 9 people in our care that have taken their own lives.
Just for Tobin Brothers. Just for Tobin Brothers, there are 9 people this week, or currently in your establishments.
Currently in our care, and and I had a very I reached out to one of my managers the other night who runs a subsidiary company in the Tobin Group. And I just to see how she's doing because I know that she's got 3 boys at home. She's homeschooling them, also running an important division of the Tobin Group. And I said, how are you doing? And she said, I'm pretty sad at the moment. And I just scratched the surface a bit further with her on why that was. And then she told me that the last 5 funerals that she'd arranged in the last 48 hours had all been for males under the age of 40 years of age that have all taken their own life. Now, that was in just a 2-day period this week that she'd cared for those funerals. I then went away and looked a little bit further, and as I'm talking to you now, as I said, we have 9 people in our care, 8 males who've taken their life, and 1 female, all the ages 43 to 21. You know, I've been a funeral director for 33 years. Suicides have always been a really challenging and difficult funerals for all involved to deal with. And the numbers have always been too high, Justin.
Yeah.
But I just haven't seen numbers like I've seen this year. So much so that we saw the state coroner, John Kane, unprecedented in my memory of a coroner coming out and speaking of their great concern in and around the numbers of deaths as a result of suicide, and particularly in young men.
I just think about all, you know, the 9 this week. You think about all of the families, all of the people that knew those 9 people. I think about your staff that are involved in dealing with it, but the families, the friends, the echoes of each one of those suicides and the tragedy itself is just incredible. If that was happening for some other reason, we would be screaming from the rooftops, wouldn't we? If we were talking about, you know, that number for deaths on people on mobile phones in cars, for example, we would be screaming about it. And yet the conversation still with suicide is just so, you know, just hushed. You know, don't mention it, don't talk about it. I mean, for years we just wouldn't even, if we lost somebody to suicide, their name may never come up again. You know, that's just, it hasn't helped us, has it? We've got to change that.
I think the words that I've heard most in my life as a funeral director at any funeral is when mourners approach a family, they say, "I don't know what to say." Now, most of us have trouble dealing with death and confronting grief. It's a challenge. It's a great challenge, an enormous challenge. And but then to deal with suicide is, I think, completely different. And I know of some people who just don't know what to say, don't know what to do, and as a result, they hide from the situation. They don't go to the funeral. They don't go and visit the people. They try not to engage with them because they're stuck for words. They're stuck for how to talk about it, and hence why we're having this discussion now, because that's all people need. That's all people need. They need us to talk, but more important, they need us to listen, and they need us to be there. And just being there, and there can be complete silence, can make a difference for some of these people. And I think that it's really, really important. We need to mature more as a community and get better at dealing with death overall, but we certainly need to get better at dealing with suicide and talking about it. And our hope and our aim is, as a result of that, there'll be greater awareness, and if there's greater awareness, we hope we see the number of deaths from suicide come down. I
mean, exactly. We're not doing this just so we can say, oh, gee, the numbers are high and it's terrible and isn't all. We are doing this so we can find the people that are struggling right now, who felt that they're the only people that have ever had these feelings, and that they're thinking of taking their own life, and some may even be watching this right now and have a plan or a date in place, and to get to them and say, other people have been there. You can come back from this. You can come back from this.
Yeah, and I think that's the team of ambassadors that we have talking with you throughout the week. There's such a variety of stories that they'll share.
Yeah.
And certainly some will challenge people. Some will be confronting. Some will be inspiring, and some certainly offer hope too, that you can be faced with your darkest days and get through. And I think that that's the message we want to get across, because mental health is treatable. It's treatable, and there is plenty of help out there, and we want to try and lift the lid and talk to people about where they can get help and seek help, and we want to talk about the realness and the collateral damage also too that suicide does have on society, on families, on friends, on work colleagues. The first responders, AMBOs and police, and you're talking to AMBO and police people.
Yes, yep.
People from the medical fraternity, perhaps people that have been counselling an individual or helping an individual for some times. And then right through to the funeral directors, the last responders. And everyone walks away from a death as a result of suicide carrying more luggage than they did prior to that death.
Yeah.
And the one question that they all walk away with when you're seeing healthy young people before you lying there in a coffin is why. And, I know you're talking to people through the week, that have lost children and what have you, that are still asking themselves that question decades on.
It's a question that'll never leave them. They'll never fully have even when they think they've got it worked out, they may start at zero again. It's extraordinary. Look, you mentioned the people we're speaking to, we're going to be talking to experts, first responders. We are going to talk to people that see these normally healthy young people who should be healthy young people coming through the doors of their work. We will talk with the families, but we want this to be, James, I think we really want this to be a positive thing, because if we can talk about suicide and we can talk about suicide openly, then those people will not feel the stigma of it, and they think that they can reach out and ask for help.
Yeah,
it's
all about
moment,
Yeah, it's all about awareness, Justin. And that's what we're trying to create, a greater awareness in and around suicide. And I think that it's going to be, well, we certainly hope it's going to be helpful to those that are potentially sitting on something out there. It's going to be helpful that some of our best stories, that others will be able to identify with it and say, gee, that's me, and seek help as a result of it. And it's going to, I hope, get people talking about it, because I know one of the people that you speak to, Alana McGregor, because I've heard her speak on a number of occasions, the stigma that she felt attached as a result of two of her children committing suicide.
Yeah.
People walking into shops or walking or turning around or going down a side street, etc., not wanting or having the ability or having the knowledge to be able to talk to her.
Yes. Yeah.
And so it's awareness. And I hope that this brings some form of comfort to all these families that have journeyed as a result, sadly, of a family member taking their own life, that we're speaking up on behalf of them also, that as sad as what they've gone through and as tough as what they've gone through, that we're learning and we want to get better as a society and how we respond to these deaths. Because if it was a road accident, or if it was cancer, or if it was, another awful, disease, we'd be talking about it. We've got to beat cancer, we've got to beat the road toll, etc. But suicide, we put into this special area of its own. And if you're struggling, call Lifeline. That's our general answer, our response. And we owe it to those people that have gone, and to their families, to speak up on their behalf, and speak up to those that are struggling out there, and hope that they'll identify with what we're talking about and get help.
James, you should be very proud of yourself, you and your team, for putting this together. I know that I'm incredibly proud to be a part of it. I think unbelievably important conversation, and I think we're going to learn a great deal as the week goes on. And you mentioned the Lifeline. We don't want that to be an afterthought. You know, many times we see it at the end of something, don't we? You know, we don't want that to be an afterthought. This is, you know, get help, talk to people. No, do not give up on these things. You know, that's going to be our primary message.
And Lifeline, they're fantastic people. They're you know, they're there to have a conversation, just like we're having a conversation here, and they're there 24/7, and they're not there, you know, just for the last call. They're there for the first call, and they're tremendous people there, and they're always available. And if you're not comfortable, you can text them also and have a text conversation with them too. And the numbers have been flashing below the screen here as we've been talking. And the important thing is that we want to do what we can as a good community citizen at Tobin Brothers, and we want to be doing funerals for people who have had long and fulfilling lives. And we certainly don't want to be doing funerals for those that thought they had no other option. And what we can do to assist in starting the conversation and opening the door, that's why we've introduced Listen Now Week, and we hope that people are engaged and take up the conversation, because it's a very important conversation.
Absolutely. You know, we look forward to you being with us right through the week, James. So also we're going to chat later on in the week as well as it wraps up. But, you know, please get help if you need it, and please follow the Listen Now hashtag on your favourite platform of social media. And look, we welcome your feedback too, and any thoughts that you have. We would really want to hear from you. James, thank you very much.
Thanks, Justin.